Hello and welcome. We are back. This is the Make Fantasy Great Again podcast. I am Jacob Katzenberg, co-hosting the show along with my guy Sam Long. We're finally back.
We're finally back. It's been a really long time. Basically, technical issues, general laziness, and just stressfulness have caused us to not post in a long time. But we're going to come back here and we're going to give you a nice trade deadline special and give you a preview into the playoff race. So, Katz, let's get into this.
All right. So let me screen share real fast. So we had a bunch of trades go down. The trade deadline is approaching. But we'll start off with this first trade right here. We had Taylor Heineke, Ramondre Stevenson getting traded. Both each received the 14th picks. Don't really know what the point of trading the same pick to each other was, but
I was there for this trade. So this trade happened during the K-State football game against West Virginia. When Damian Harris got ruled out, Gavin wanted to pick up Ramondre Stevenson, but couldn't because Chase Edmonds, for some reason, went from IR/out to NA coach's decision, which meant that he no longer was eligible to be on IR, which meant that Gavin would have had to have dropped two players to get him. So because Colton and Gavin were both at the K-State game, Gavin told Colton that he would trade him Taylor Heineke if he picked up Ramondre Stevenson. I don't know what the 14 for 14 was about, but that's why Taylor Heineke got traded for Ramondre Stevenson. It was really just more of a favor.
Yeah. I definitely think the better end of this deal is clearly Ramondre Stevenson. I mean,
facts. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hitch should have asked for like a 15 to a 16. He should have at least gotten something out of it. I don't know why the 14 to 14 is a thing.
Yeah, that really didn't make a lot of sense because Taylor Heineke is like pretty much not playable at this point in fantasy, I would say, unless he's playing the Falcons.
We love the Taylor Heineke over at the Bad in the City Losers, but I mean, he's a gunslinger with not a whole lot of talent.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Ramondre Stevenson, especially when Damian Harris doesn't play, Ramondre Stevenson is like their guy. Ramondre Stevenson really, he's actually a very comparable player to Damian Harris, if we're being honest, but
he's a lot of
downhill runner, no nonsense back, pretty explosive he's looked so far, but he's
looked a lot like Garrett Blunt when he was with New England.
Yep. Just a very physical runner downhill. Gets a lot of touchdowns, big goal line back. So, I mean, how many points did he finish with tonight?
So I actually don't know. I'll go look up real quick what that was.
But he was the top fantasy running back last week. So that's important to mention here.
The thing with Ramondre for me is it kind of looks like him and Damian Harris are going to split touches, which isn't like a terrible thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that, like, I would feel if he had, so he scored 7.5 points tonight, which is like more than respectable.
Yeah.
69 rushing yards and 6 receiving. I would feel like for Ramondre, he's a running back one if Damian Harris isn't there. But I mean, with Damian Harris being there, I mean, he's kind of just like a low end running back 2, running back 3 type of guy.
Yeah.
But, there's value in that. And, Damian Harris gets hurt again, then, obviously he slots right in. He finished with one more point than Damian Harris tonight, though.
Gotcha.
Damian Harris had 10 carries, and Ramondre had, if I can find it, and Ramondre had 12. So he did out-carry Damian Harris tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I think one player is trending upwards, and Taylor Heineke is like bottom 5 fantasy quarterback at this point. So,
yeah. Again, the reason for the trade was the reason for the trade.
Yeah. But I guess final grades, I would say Hitch. Wait, so this is going to Eli. Ramondre Stevenson was picked up by Eli, right?
No, so Hitch picked up Stevenson, traded him to Gavin.
Okay, Gavin, I would say A minus, and then Hitch, I would say, fuck,
I would
I'm gonna
just give,
C minus.
honestly, for this, I'm giving both of them just an NA. I just don't feel like it's worth putting a grade on it given the circumstance. Because like Hitch didn't really even want to pick up Stevenson in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I mean, in a vacuum, yeah, it's it's like an A something for Gavin and like a C something for Hitch.
yeah.
Probably even a D something for Hitch if we're being honest. But I just don't even think the trade's worth grading when neither one was really trying to trade, if that makes sense.
Well, that's just loser talk, Sam. I mean, how can you not overreact to trades the minute they happen? What the fuck?
Because we have different goals. We weren't trying to win a Big 12 title, Katz. We were just trying to be the most togetherness team in the Big 12.
Yeah. Shout out Matt Campbell. Moving on, we got pretty irrelevant trade here. I mean, we got a defense for a defense trade. So, but we got Hitch acquiring Washington's defense in a 14th round pick. And then we got Gavin once again. Well, it's the same players as last trade, but picking up LA Chargers defense and around 16th round pick. So Chargers defense has been kind of bad right now. If you look at the stats, so the thing with defenses, I've always just felt why they're kind of not that, like, not really worth trading for unless they have a bunch of ideal matchups.
Yeah.
Chargers, I did have to look at their schedule. Let's actually just look at their schedule.
I believe from what Gavin was telling me is the Chargers matchups are pretty easy because he has the Patriots defense too. So the Chargers have like two matchups that he wants to exploit when the Patriots have like bad matchups.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and Patriots defense is an absolute fucking wagon. So
yeah, they scored almost 30 tonight. So
yeah.
I mean,
yeah, tonight was an atrocity for
I think yeah. So if I remember right, Gavin told me he literally wanted that Houston defense or that Chargers defense because they play Houston in what's our semifinals.
Yeah.
And Gavin, for those of you that don't know, Gavin's Waterloo is pretty much the semifinals of the fantasy playoffs. He's been there a million times and can never actually get to the title game out sans one time.
Yeah. Sounds like a team that is near and dear to my heart.
He's the Packers of our fucking league.
Yeah. But I mean, really, after looking at the schedule, I do like it a little bit more from Gavin's perspective. Pittsburgh is a pretty ideal matchup. I think it's a good floor play. Ben's due to turn over the ball quite a bit. If nothing.
Broncos could be a nice play too.
Yep. Broncos defense has been pretty bad.
Giants. I mean, there's stuff there.
Even the Chiefs, guys. Chiefs are a turnover prone offense up until this last week. They did not turn over the balls last week, but
yeah,
the Chiefs have turned over the ball in virtually. I think every.
Well, okay, they technically did turn the ball over on that punt return, but like the offense did.
Yeah.
Chiefs are addicted. That's pretty much a -3 floor.
But yeah, and then they got the big boy right here, Houston D.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he traded him for.
Yep. So that's that. I kind of like the move now that I really look at the matchups.
I really don't know what the Niners defense is looking like, and I don't. Who does Hitch even use for his regular defense? It's like the Chiefs or something.
Hitch's defense has been really bad all year. That's kind of.
I know. Surely the football team has some sort of matchup he can exploit. I know the football team defense is bad.
As we take a look at it, looks like
I like this a lot less now since Chase Young's out for the year. That's kind of the problem.
Okay. Dallas twice is not great. We take Carolina. Carolina's a good matchup.
Maybe the Raiders.
Even Seattle, I'm really not that convinced, but I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, the football team defense, when they had Chase Young, wasn't awful because you could kind of convince yourself that they were going to get like 3 sacks a game between like their D line. And like at worst, you're going to score like 3 to 6 points. It wasn't going to be pretty, but it was playable.
Yeah.
Without Chase Young, I'm just not sure how the defense exactly works.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I mean, defense is so volatile. Who knows? They could go on like a turnover causing spree and force like 2 turnovers a game and only give up like 20 points per
Even
game.
even Philadelphia is a team that I'm really not fading to this point. I mean, so the thing about Philadelphia is that the fourth quarter, the Eagles just put up a lot of points for whatever reason. So
Yep, and they're actually one of the better running. So ironically, now they're one of the better running teams, which is a wild statement. If you would have been alive like 2 months ago,
yeah,
they're one of the better running teams in the league now.
Yep.
So that actually might not be a bad play against Washington, considering their D line is their strength. Then like if the Eagles are running the ball, there's less time to have points scored on them.
Yep. But then we got another trade here. This is a pretty big trade if you really think about it. So we got Ramondre Stevenson, who just got picked up by Gavin, now flips Ramondre Stevenson and a 7th into Leonard Fournette and an 11th to Game of Jones' Cody. So I mean, Gavin obviously sold high on Ramondre Stevenson, rightfully so. Rightfully so, I think. Really turning a fringe starter into a every week starter to this point.
Yeah, it's pretty much just Leonard Fournette and Josh Jacobs are kind of 2 guys that you can kind of pick and choose based off matchups now. Between the 2, Cody's really the first guy, so you'll see this better later. But pretty much everyone from about the 5th spot to the 13th spot are within 1 game of each other in this league, and the 5th and 6th teams are going to make the playoffs, and everyone else isn't. And Cody's kind of the first team to not necessarily wave the white flag on the season because he's not completely selling out. He has 2 trades, but the 2 trades are actually at least bringing back players who can like be started. Yeah. So like he's kind of doing more of a retool, not necessarily a rebuild, but he's kind of the first guy that like kind of got ahead of everyone in the trade market.
Yeah, we'll see how active he is in the next 48 hours or so. But like you mentioned, I mean, 2 teams, one of them's kind of retooling, other one is gearing up for the playoffs. So that's kind of really all I got to say about that one. I do like I like Gavin's end of the trade much better, but
yeah, and I mean that's just to be expected. Cody's kind of selling a guy who is going to be a contributor for another guy who might be a contributor.
7 is pretty low for Leonard Fournette, I would say.
I think it's just kind of his name. You know how some players have, like Allen Robinson has like some name value. Like Allen Robinson's been awful this year. He's on my roster just because I need a 5th receiver and I'm hoping he bounces back.
Well, Leonard Fournette's been awesome this year.
Huh?
And Leonard Fournette's been awesome this year.
I know he has, but what I'm saying is Allen Robinson's been awful, and people will still give him the benefit of the doubt because of his name. Leonard Fournette's been awesome, and I feel like people just don't realize it because Leonard Fournette's name got dragged through the mud like for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's an underappreciated asset in the general sense of just his name value carries negative weight for some reason.
I mean, when you get cut by the Jacksonville Jaguars, it's never a great thing. So
yeah, and I mean, what's ironic is they replaced him with James Robinson. So I don't know.
Yeah. But if I were to rank this, or if I were to grade each side of this trade, I would say Gavin getting a solid B+, Cody probably getting a solid B.
Yeah, B to B-. If Damian Harris gets hurt or whatever, like at any point in the next, like during the next 3 games, Cody's got a guy.
And this, I would say this is one of the blockbusters we've had. So we had you, Sam, trading with Game of Jones, Mr. Cody Jackson. And so Sam obviously gets the crown jewel of fantasy quarterbacks, gets Josh Allen. Had to give up his 4th round pick and an additional pick upgrade.
Yeah. So
this was pretty steep, but
so for this in my head, I know how like these 4th round pick upgrades work. You know what I mean? Like normally what happens is, when you're trying to get someone who is elite, it's always like a 4 to an 8. You know what I mean? So I figured in my head, if I went 4 to 5, there's a chance that I might actually only be giving up like 10 spots theoretically, or
Yeah,
around like 10 spots.
exactly. I
It
mean,
could be more.
it's a trade you can talk yourself into because really, I mean, you're getting a player who's like around like the same tier of player, and then really only giving up three.
3 on the back end.
Yeah, three on the back end, 3 rounds in the back end. So
I
I
I
mean, if
feel
you
like that's
trust your
kind of a
ability drafting in the later rounds, like I mean, I think this is worth the risk.
yeah, and
Especially as a
I
team
mean
that's trending in the right direction, like Sam
I
said.
have I had the rest of my draft intact. So I mean, if you really think about it, you kind of draft your 7 starters in the first 7 rounds. And so I still have my first 7 rounds intact, except I'm moving back from 4 to 5, which I mean, that could be a steep drop. It could literally be a pick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll find out what that is at the time. But in my head, I have 2 really good running backs. My wide receiver core is passable in a 14 teamer. And I'd been streaming quarterbacks between Matt Ryan and Taylor Heineke and Tua and Derek Carr all season. And I figured Josh Allen was kind of the guy to raise my ceiling to where I could make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Or at least maximize my chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Allen certainly helps the ceiling of the team. That is very apparent. But yeah, I mean, I would say, Sam, I would give you probably B plus.
That's about what I would give me. It really, if I make the playoffs, it's an A trade. If I miss it, it's like if it's a C plus. If I
The only
miss
thing
it,
stopping me from saying it's just like an awesome trade is the fact that you could still very well get eliminated.
yeah. I mean, I'm pretty happy that I have Drew tucked in there, but I really
Yeah.
do need to win 3 out of the last 4.
We'll talk about
Really,
the playoff picture here in a minute, but yeah, it's pretty much like
it's a
7, 8
mess.
teams fighting for the final spot in the playoffs.
It's a
Final 2 spots.
technically it's the last 2, but it's a
Yeah.
complete mess.
Yeah, it is a mess. But next, me and you, Sam. I mean, I went ahead and just traded Minnesota D for Evan McPherson and a 12th round pick upgrade. Obviously the 12 or the 15 turns into a 12. So I mean,
Yep.
it's a defense, and I'm in a position right now where I'm kind of doing like a soft rebuild. I don't think I'm kind of doing what Cody is. I'm retooling some things, preparing for shit not to go my way, but I still have top end talent on my team. So
Yeah. And I'll explain this one. I have the Panthers defense. The Panthers defense has been like top 10 this year.
exactly.
So I want to keep them, but they have a week 13 bye, and the Vikings play the Lions week 13. That's
Exactly. And this makes a lot of sense from my end because the Saints is kind of like an every week start at this point for me. So
and I mean, if you're gonna do a retool too, then what's the point of having what's the point of having a defense on your team that someone wants?
Yeah,
Then
I'd
we'll give
much
you
rather
something
just have the
more.
draft capital on my part. So honestly,
Yeah.
I'll give myself a
I'd say it's
minus.
probably like I'd say it's an A minus, or an A minus B plus, probably.
A minus B plus. Yeah, this is one that I really think both ends kind of got what they wanted. So
I'd give myself a B plus because 12 is a little steep for a defense that I
and
only really
we looked
plan
at
on
the other
using
two. We might
once.
as well look at Minnesota's too. But the strength of schedule, they do get a Lions matchup in here.
They have another like really delicious matchup, like 14 or 15 or something. They have some really good matchups.
Yeah, so they got Pittsburgh, which is the same as the last defense we went over, but Pittsburgh's a good defense to start. Pittsburgh is a good matchup for defenses. I would say Chicago's kind of hit or miss here because I actually feel like Chicago's offense is starting to turn.
Chicago's turning the corner. I think by the time that Chicago matchup rolls around, I don't think Chicago is going to be like, oh wow, you can just stream a defense on Chicago anymore.
Yeah. And I
And
mean,
that's kind of what I'm hoping for with Allen Robinson. I'm hoping the offense kind of turns that corner by week 14. I can just kind of play Allen Robinson. It'll get me 5 points.
and then Sam pretty much gave up little to nothing. And at this point, and with how important these next stretch of games are, if you just find one ideal matchup out of the next 5, if you're not giving up much, you might as well.
Yeah. And again, week 13 Lions, I can't ask for a better defensive matchup while my defense I like is on bye.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a win-win. I gave up a 12. That might have been a little bit too much, but if we can't survive missing on a 12th round pick, then I don't know what we're going to survive on.
Exactly. But here's the absolute mess that is the standings. So we got really, I'd say 3 teams guaranteed to make the playoffs, 2, 1 away from damn near clinching, actually just clinching, right? I don't see how.
No, because they have 6 wins, right?
Yeah, they have 6 wins.
Yeah, well, if they get to 7, they could still lose. There's still 3 more games. That would put them at 500. Theoretically, 2
I would
5
say there is an 75-80% chance that the top 4 are all going to make the playoffs as it stands right now. Next team, really the top 5.
Well, so Nick and I are playing this week. That is a humongous matchup.
Yeah, that is the winner of that is in the driver's seat to make the playoffs. Loser is kind of, well, Sam, it's kind of two different because Sam loses. Sam is in a position, he's down fighting for the playoffs with a bunch of teams. If Nick makes the playoffs, he's in the driver's seat, or if he wins this game, he is still in the driver's seat to make a playoff spot, I would say.
If I win, then I pretty much drag him down into kind of a more upper fight, if that makes sense.
Exactly. So it's a pivotal game, I would say. But
yeah, it's a huge game, and so for me, I know my schedule. I have Nick, and then I have Drew, who has 5 wins, who's in the 5 win range. I have Eli, who's in that 5 win range, and then I have you, who is in that 4 win range. So I mean, I guess I don't really have to fight any of the upper teams, but it is just a slugfest the rest of the way.
Yeah,
we might have a team. We honestly might have a team with 6 wins finish second to last.
Yeah.
Just depending on how the variance of everything works.
Yeah. So, but outside of that, I mean, a lot of people fighting here with the 5-5 teams are the ones that's really every game really matters here. Even the 4-6 teams, myself included, like if I want to make the playoffs, I got to start winning now.
Yeah, you pretty much have to go 3-1 to give yourself a chance.
Yep, 3-1. 3-1 probably gets me in, but at that point,
yeah, 3-1, you're probably gonna be tied with a couple 7-7 teams. Then it comes down to points.
Yeah,
there's a really real chance that like 4 teams are tied at 7-7
I'd say,
or something like that.
If I were to just break it down team by team here, Sam's got a fairly good shot at making the playoffs. The only one that I really don't like their chance of making the playoffs is Drew. Just because
Drew's team is just
so he's basically got to win 8 games. He has to win 8 games because he
has so little points.
Yeah, his points for are so low that he's not going to get any tiebreakers. So,
and he's playing Gavin this week. So and the Pats defense just dropped a 30 burger on him.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's probably going to lose. He's going to probably lose this week. So he's got to win out. Now, working in his favor for winning out, he does have to play me. So that's a team in front. Well, I shouldn't say that's a team in front of him. There's going to be a lot of teams in front of him.
Yeah.
But that's a main competitor for a playoff spot. He's got Fox week 14, which you can't just pencil Fox in for a win. But the man is 0-10 for a reason. And then I don't know who his last game is. I'm not completely for sure who it is. I'm going to look it up because for some reason, me thinks it might be Colby which makes me think that the man should definitely sell.
Yeah. And then
it is absolutely Colby. He's playing Colby next week.
Yeah.
He's playing Colby next week without. Oh my God. Kansas City's on bye. His running backs are going to be Cordell Patterson, then whatever he can pick up off waivers other than Wayne Gallman.
Yeah, I'm just going to say Drew's probably not making the playoffs. Straight up.
I would be shocked.
Be shocked.
No offense to Drew, I would be shocked if he made the playoffs. Because he's going to have Gavin either implode this week so he can go 2-1 the rest of the way, or he's going to have to run the table. And he's going to have to do it against my team, which is like improved with Josh Allen. We still don't score touchdowns. So, I mean, I guess I could get beat. But he's also got to take down Colby, who is like on pace to break the record for most touchdowns in league history.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, and then I do want to point out that so two teams right here, me and Cody, are essentially in the same position where we understand that we have kind of a long shot. We're kind of long shots to make the playoffs. Do still have the top end talent. Also do find ourselves in tough matchups now that he's missing Aaron Jones. I'm missing Jerry Jeudy and Odell this week. Not that Odell's really anything. Really, Jerry Jeudy was the guy. But we both just kind of find uphill. I'm having to start Marquez Valdes-Scantling this week, so, and he might not even play. So
Cody definitely made the right move, because if Aaron Judge is going to miss more than 1 week, then like it's just time. Like we thought he had a good team. Like we've been preaching that we think his team is good, and it's just one of those years where he gets unlucky with matchups. His team just underperforms slightly, and suddenly you find yourself 4-6 in the middle of just an absolute dogfight.
Yeah. I guess since it's the last episode before the trade deadline, we want to pick out some buy candidates and sell candidates.
The thing is,
I would say, obviously Gavin. We see what Gavin's doing. He's a buy candidate. He's buying.
Yeah, Gavin. So everyone, I would say, that has 5 wins, other than Drew and maybe Austin, because Austin's team doesn't necessarily have the top end talent. It's kind of just Saquon and a bunch of other dudes.
Here is why I would say Austin's definitely a buy candidate. He already spent his 4th. He made his all-in move.
Oh, that is right. Yeah, no, Austin really.
He's got no choice but to.
So Austin really has 2 avenues. So here's Austin's 2 avenues. Austin either needs to go all in and try and make the playoffs, or he could technically sell someone off. He could technically try and retool someone like a Travis Kelce or a Saquon or a Chris Godwin to get like a 6 to a 4. So that way his chances of making the playoffs are still kind of decent, but like the pick that he spent, it hurts less, right?
Yeah.
Austin's definitely kind of on that fence.
It was a 4 for a 9. It was a 4 for a 9 for Travis Kelce, which is very steep.
Which is a lot. I mean, Travis Kelce is really good, and Austin was liking his team, but I think injuries have just kind of zapped the juice.
Yeah.
So I would say everyone from 1 to 7 are buyers. Austin's kind of on the fence. Drew should be selling for sure.
Drew's not.
I think everyone.
Drew's a buy candidate because he's Drew. That's
everyone. So here's the thing. Everyone, I think, Drew and below should be sellers, right? Or at the very least, just holders. I think someone like Dave should hold because he has like Stephon Diggs and Austin Eckler and Dak Prescott and Dallas Goedert. Like, he has really good players. The season just hasn't really worked out for him.
Yeah.
So there's no point in blowing it up, but there's no point in buying anything at this position. And this is kind of where we get to the weird part of like the only person who's eliminated from the playoffs right now is Fox, right? Fox is the only dude who can't actually make the playoffs, and he's already sold everything worth anything.
Yeah.
There's really
Fox
there's
is
really
obviously
no
a sell candidate, but what the fuck what are you selling here? I mean,
he could have gotten a 9 for Gaskin like 2 weeks ago, but he just said no. Said to hell with that. I'd rather lose by 30. I'd rather lose by 30 than 35, I guess.
Brandon Ayuk, I guess, kind of a bump this week because he's got a Jacksonville as his next matchup. But even him, I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just rough. Like there's nothing really more to sell for Fox, and I mean, at this point, you could argue that Fox should probably try
on a defense, Tennessee defense, right there, but.
Yeah, no, Tennessee's been really good.
Mm-hmm.
You could argue that Fox should be buying at least something in the consideration of him not going 0-14.
Yeah.
Quick question. I had thought this. Let's say Fox like wins the title, right, next year because he has all these fourths. Is it worth going 0-14 this year to win the title next year?
I mean, absolutely.
I think it is.
No punishment. We never decided on a punishment for 14, so he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I don't think I could live with going over 14.
No, I mean, it hurts your pride, absolutely, but I don't know. At the end of the day, Fox has so many 4th round picks, he doesn't care. Like,
I know, but the thing is Fox can't go 0-14 because if he does. And he doesn't win the title next year, like he's gonna get roasted, like to hell and back.
Yeah.
Like it's title or bust next year. He can't screw it up. And if he does, then he's gonna get put in the oven at 350 for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And come out a nice juicy roast.
Yeah. I will also, I guess I'll just go over some players that are also potential buy candidates. Obviously, Justin Herbert's a buy candidate. Who else? Michael Carter's a big buy candidate. Antonio Gibson's a big buy candidate. I don't think I'm gonna sell Dalvin Cook, but I'm listening to offers.
I think you would need something really good.
I would
for
need
Dalvin
something
Cook.
really good. I would need.
You would need like a guy that's like
my asking price for Dalvin Cook right now. I'm gonna need a 1st round pick swap and the 4th round pick for probably like a 9 or 10. Like that's
I completely forgot that we could swap 1st round.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah. And I would be looking to trade him to a place that has another guy who would likely be kept.
Yeah, and that's kind of the key. So I mean, you don't want to trade him to Drew.
Yeah.
You're just gonna keep Dalvin
exactly.
Cook.
So
like if you trade him,
find the right trade partner, I'm willing to listen, but I still feel good about Dalvin Cook, and I'm probably going to end up keeping him. So, I mean, you can try if you want, but I don't know. The guys that I'm really probably looking to get rid of would be Jerry Jeudy, Antonio Gibson, Michael Carter.
Yeah, I mean OBJ if someone just wanted to ride that ride.
Yeah. Even Justin Herbert. I mean, if you want to send offers for Justin Herbert too, I understand he's a quarterback and he's had some bad games too. He is still a legitimate fantasy quarterback option if you're a team that doesn't have a quarterback.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think that like that would have been a really good trade for T-Cam about like 3 weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
With Russ coming back,
3 weeks ago, I was also right there with everybody in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, that's how it goes. I mean, I went from like 12-7 by winning a game.
Exactly.
It's been a complete mayhem. This entire season has been, and who knows? I mean, I was talking to Gavin about this. I mean, let's say you're a Colton Hitch, and I hate to use Colton for this example. Let's say you're a Colton Hitch, you score like low points the next 4 weeks, and you kind of just lose like the last 4 of the year. You choke it away, and suddenly, you might be on the outside looking in. It's unlikely, I would say once you reach 8 wins, you're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So Hitch is like a win away. But I mean, he started Matt Ryan and Mike Davis tonight because Stafford and Henderson are out. So, you lose that game. Your rival is, do we know who Hitch's rival is? Isn't it Davis?
Yeah.
No, wait, your rival is Davis.
No, yeah, that's right, my rival. But
Who is Hitch's rival? Is it
Nick? It's Nick Leonard. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Nick Leonard is a losable game. You
Yeah.
might lose this week. I don't know who his other matchups are. Like Hitch could have just a dogfight of a schedule and miss the playoffs in accident because he front loaded the schedule.
Yeah. Also, just
Hitch does play Dave next week, so that should be fine.
Dave's
And then
still though.
And the week after that is Kyler. I mean, Kyler and Dave.
Like teams like me, Cody, and Dave are still like scary teams to meet right now. Just because
you have the talent.
We have the top end talents, and we're not really in a position to just sell.
Yeah.
So
pretty much, I would say for Cody's sake, you're pretty well and good playing him for the most part. He could still beat you, obviously, but
Cody does have some good buy options on his team, though. Like I would be going after Jalen Waddle. I would try to get Aaron Jones. I tried to get Aaron Jones. I don't know. He's still a good keeper candidate.
I tried to get Jalen Waddle, but like his bye week's week 14, so it doesn't even matter. Like it doesn't.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah.
His bye week is week 14, so it's kind of one of those things where it's like if you really like Jalen Waddle and have the wide receiver, Jalen Waddle, in my opinion, is a good like spot flex guy. You know what I mean?
Thielen is definitely a guy I'd be trying to trade.
Yeah, and I mean, I would trade if his bye week was week 13. I probably would be trading Allen Robinson and like a 10 for like Jalen Waddle and a 13 or something, because Jalen Waddle is just good and has better upside. But like he has a week 14 bye, and I already have 2 receivers on bye for week 14, so it doesn't really fit.
Yeah. So
I thought about Thielen too. I mean, Thielen's a guy. I don't know. I just don't think Thielen. I know Thielen is an upgrade over Allen Robinson, but like Thielen just feels like that kind of guy who you get on your team and you decide you want to start him over like T. Higgins, or you want to start him over like Michael Pittman, and it screws you over that week because he has his signature like 29-yard game.
Big time buy candidate here. Jamar Chase. Big time buy candidate.
You see, that's if you can get Kyler to sell him. Kyler's just as likely to keep it. So if Kyler didn't have Alvin Kamara, he'd be keeping Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kyler just does not seem to want to trade anyone. He seems very content with having 3 good players and 1 elite fantasy quarterback option on his bench and just not getting anything out of it.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, if he sneaks into the playoffs, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't get the method behind his madness. I would definitely have traded Jalen Hurts for literally anything at this point.
Amari Cooper, big time buy candidate as well. Yeah. Lamar.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. If he's really dedicated to holding his team together because he thinks they can make the playoffs, then Lamar is not going to get traded. So
I just don't think he's going to trade anyone. I think at this point, I mean, if I was him, I would trade Jalen Hurts for literally a wide receiver too, if I could. Like, I would be trying to trade Jalen Hurts.
That's a huge big time. That's a big time buy candidate too. Jalen Hurts, but then Kyler wouldn't have a backup quarterback.
Facts. Kyler thinks the most important position on any fantasy team is backup quarterback.
Yep.
I'm just saying, if he traded Jalen Hurts to like anyone for like a modest running back, like I'm not even talking about a good running back. I'm talking like if you would have just traded Jalen Hurts to someone like Fox for Myles Gaskin type guy. Obviously, Myles Gaskin hasn't been like great, or like Damian Harris. if you would have traded Jalen Hurts to Fox for Damian Harris, that would have been a great trade for him because he's starting Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, who
Yep.
share the same backfield. And his next best running back is Devontae Booker, who was fine for him, except now Saquon Barkley's back, so Devontae Booker's worthless again.
Yeah. I also
I don't want to look at that, dude. I don't want to look at fucking.
This is
Nick
definitely
Foles.
the game of the week here. This is huge playoff implications. We
And
mentioned it earlier, so I'm really not going to spend a lot of time on it. I'm just going to focus on the matchups they have. We got Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen. That's quarterback 1 and quarterback 2 as far as fantasy football goes, probably. So big time matchup there. Terry McLaurin's been struggling. Does he come out of the rut this week?
I don't think so. I think pretty much what this is going to come down to is
matchup for wide receivers too.
Dude, I know. I think it's going to come down to whether or not my wide receivers and Josh Allen bail me out this game.
Yep. Obviously, and then you got Nick Chubb coming back off COVID. Is he going to be the same player coming back off COVID? What's going to be his role in the offense with Dearness Johnson seeming to fit that offense really well?
I'm going to be honest. If I had it my way, this is going to sound absolutely nuts. I would rather have Nick Chubb not be back from COVID so I can just start Dearness Johnson in a one-man backfield against the Lions.
Yeah.
I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but we're in a must-win situation, and I want the most clarity possible when it comes to my fantasy players.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick Chubb is better than Dearness Johnson in every conceivable way, except one had COVID and one didn't, and I want to make sure that that person finishes the game.
Then both teams' tight ends had duds on Thursday Night Football. Kyle Pitts only 29 yards. Kyle Pitts also just had like a really, really bad game. If you actually
he just couldn't get the ball thrown to him. He was like wide open on some route, and Matt Ryan just got sacked.
Yeah. I'm also talking about the interception. That was kind of his fault that he just like he got pressed at the line and like couldn't get off the press. And then he like slowed down on the route and it just got picked. So
I didn't see that one then. I must have been driving home.
Yeah, that was Devin McCourty's pick in the third, I think. But
yeah, we were driving back during the third.
Nick had a spark from Nick Folk, his kicker. Anytime you're in a pivotal game, anytime your kicker puts up 16 to start the week off, that's looking pretty good.
This reminds me of the last game I had between T-Cam, where I could have beaten T-Cam, and then James Conner like scored 2 touchdowns and put up like 14 points.
And then
it just feels the same. Who's Boswell play this week? Who do the Steelers play this week?
Steelers plays Chargers. That's going to be a lot of points probably.
Oh, dude, I need a lot of field goals on Boswell.
Yeah.
I might get it. Honestly, Boswell gives me 10. I'll feel a lot better.
Chargers defense isn't bad, but it gives up a lot of points. That makes sense. Or does that just make them bad? I don't know.
I mean, if the Chargers can consistently stop the Steelers like around the 30-yard line, I'll take it.
Yeah. And then obviously we got where was it? I was going to point something else out. Keep your eye on the news with Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown's a fucking idiot and decided he was going to
allegedly for legal purposes.
It's all allegedly, but it fits the bill for Antonio Brown.
Also, he just might not even play this week. He just started running. Like he posted on Instagram, They started running like this week. So I doubt he even plays.
And then who slides in there?
There's not a whole lot of great options for Nick. It's probably
Jones. Yeah.
Well, the other thing to monitor too is that Claypool was limited with his toe injury, so Claypool might not even play.
Even Peoples-Jones is questionable. So yeah, really not looking great for Nick if Antonio Brown doesn't play.
If his wide receivers are as hurt as like the reports are indicating, then it could be just bad timing for Nick for this matchup. But I mean, if everyone's full strength, it's a really good matchup.
Yep. But that pretty much wraps it up. Sam, I'm not even going to let you pick it because I already know you're going to pick Nick. But
no facts.
Yeah,
facts.
I'm also going to pick Nick though.
Mhm.
I think CMC. If you guys watched last week's game, CMC looks like he's back to being the fucking.
CMC.
So,
Yeah, I'm playing CMC in multiple leagues this week, and I am terrified.
yeah,
Absolutely petrified.
his floor against the football team is like 20 points. So
Yeah,
so that's just CMC.
pretty much what the hope for me realistically is that CMC just doesn't get in the end zone. Like that's like the best case scenario. He goes for like 150. He goes for like 150 yards and no touchdowns. And then like that's just best case.
Very little chance that CMC does not get in the end zone against a football team defense.
Hey, Cam Newton might just steal the fucking TDs.
Yeah, he could. But
So
still, it's
or counterpoint. CMC could pull his hamstring.
Yeah.
It's not happened before.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. Thanks for listening, guys. Any final comments, Sam?
We're gonna do our absolute best to actually pump out weekly content for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Cat's
Paw might be dead.
Cat's Paw might be dead.
Cat's Paw might be dead.
We don't
extremely fucking busy, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. We don't really need power rankings by the end of the year. Honestly,
everyone kind of knows who the good teams are at this point. I mean, you're looking at your Gavins, your Colbys, your fucking Hitch is right up there with both of those.
Yeah, and then I would say Nick and TCam are the next. Hitch and TCam are kind of the next two, and then like I would say me and Eli are the next two, and then like probably Austin and Dave and Kyler and you and Cody are kind of the next. And Drew has 5 wins, but Drew is probably the second worst team in the league. No offense to Drew.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's your very rough power rankings. But all right. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you next week.
All right. Catch you next week, folks. Hopefully Gavin will be back.
Facts.
See you guys.
All right. That was good.
Did you end the recording?
Yeah, I did. Oh,
okay.
no, I did not. I did not do that.
You're going to have to edit it.